Hello everyone, my name is Blake and this is Walk the Parks. Today we are going to hike the upper portion of the Angel's Landing Trail at Zion National Park, and this is the scary part. Um, so Angel's Landing is a super famous hike. It's absolutely beautiful. Um, and the first part, while it does gain a lot of elevation, it's not too bad in terms of scariness. The real famous part of this hike is coming up just around the corner. You just did a whole bunch of switchbacks to get up here. Look at that little chipmunk running along the sides. Definitely be very aware of rodents here. Maybe I'll comment more on that later. So when you get here, this is called Scouts Lookout, and there are some restrooms here. You can hike all the way up to this point without a permit, and then after this, in order to go to the summit of Angel's Landing, you do need a permit. Currently, permits can be purchased at recreation.gov. Just search for Angel's Landing there. So instead of continuing up Angel's Landing right now, I'm kind of taking you up towards the restrooms, which I would highly recommend using before you go up because you might get a little scared, depending on how your body reacts to that. And the hike past this would be probably pretty challenging to use the restroom. I mean, maybe you could, I don't know. It would be pretty challenging, though. I'd really recommend using the restrooms. I wouldn't really want to go for the rest of the hike, I don't think. So there's the restrooms, and now we are going to resume the hike. If you find this video useful or like it at all, I would really appreciate if you liked or if you subscribe to my channel, Walk the Parks. I'm hoping to make a whole bunch more of these kind of hiking videos where we kind of take you along the full length of a hike. I'm hoping also to kind of release them with and without commentary. I suppose you could just mute it though, because I think it might be cool to something to watch like while you're on the treadmill. I feel like most gyms and stuff have the news on or something. It'd be cooler to pretend you're in Zion National Park hiking up Angel's Landing or something like that. So as I mentioned, this is a great place to take a break. You can come all the way up here without a permit, but if you do want to go past here, you do need a permit. You can keep going, or excuse me, take a left here, or what this sign indicates as straight, for the West Rim Trail. That's a very cool trail, and traffic drops tremendously as soon as you're on there. Also very beautiful. So I don't know. I mean, if you don't get a permit, consider hiking up to Scouts Lookout regardless, because it is absolutely beautiful. All right, so here we go, everybody. Are you ready for the scary part of Zion National Park? First, I would say, this video is in real time, so it's not sped up or slowed down. But I would say I am a pretty fast hiker. Not trying to brag or at all, but just to reference your time. For a lot of people, this could take quite a bit longer. And we're passing these signs that are pretty much saying that, to be careful. Angel's Landing is a strenuous climb, narrow route with exposed cliffs, very hazardous during thunderstorms, rainstorms, snowstorms. I'd be very cautious about going up here if it was wet or if there was snow on the ground. I mean, it may be doable if you brought traction devices and had prior experience, but I definitely wouldn't jump into this. So as you can see, from here on out, there are a lot of chains and things to hang on to. And even though it's kind of hard to represent in this video, the drops, like the drop to the right now is huge. I mean, it's probably 1,000 vertical feet. You've probably climbed 1,000 vertical feet to get up here to Scouts Lookout. So you definitely want to be careful. Angel's Landing, I've done this hike a few times. I've been really lucky to do that. I would say for a lot of people, this is really kind of their limit. And this is probably the craziest thing that they've done in terms of a hike. I personally, like, once you gain more experience, Didn't find it that bad. You'll see a lot of this. I do pass a lot of people. I promise I did it nicely. I wasn't like cutting anybody off. I don't think anybody was really like mad at me or anything. And a lot of times, like, I don't even use the chains, and I do have a gimbal in my right hand with my iPhone, so it really depends on your comfort level with exposure, and with, just steep terrain and using chains and scrambling and stuff like that. I've been really lucky to spend a lot of time in this kind of southwest, beautiful Red Rock area, and have been able to get kind of used to it as a result. And gosh, it's such a beautiful area to explore. I'd really encourage everyone to get out there. But it is cool. I like how there's chains the whole way. It really challenges people and kind of gets them at their limit, but it also makes it safe because you always do have the chain. If there weren't chains here and it were as busy and popular as it was, I'd be a little bit more scared. As you can see down here, oh my gosh, the drops are definitely significant. If you do have a fear of heights, definitely be careful. So the Angel's Landing hike is a total of 5.4 miles round trip, and you do gain just under 1,500 feet of elevation. So certainly a tough hike. The Park Service recommends, or says that most people take about 4 hours to complete the hike, but some do take longer. And one thing I would say on this hike for sure is I wouldn't do it if you're in a hurry. I think every single time that I've hiked Angel's Landing, you'll definitely encounter people that are like really at their limit, whether it's going up or going down, and they're extremely timid and really kind of going slowly, waiting for other people to pass, going extremely slow. So beyond the normal gear you might pack in a day hike, make sure to pack your patience. If you are a little bit of a faster hiker, you definitely want to be patient. And I wouldn't really do this hike if you're like, oh, I'm on a schedule, because as I said, every time I've done it, I've run into at least a couple scenarios where you're just kind of waiting for 5, 10, 15 minutes for someone to kind of, get to a point where it's safe to pass or where they feel safe. There was one guy on the way down. This hike is really just hiking up. There was one guy on the way down who kind of got scared, and he reached his arm out to me, and I wasn't really sure. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna take your arm or something like that, because I was kind of scared because you don't know if he's gonna pull or what if I pull accidentally. It just didn't seem safe at all to take his hand. I think he was kind of offended by that, but I just thought it was completely unsafe. It was kind of a weird encounter. I was like, I'm not really one to not shake someone's hand, but it was interesting. So as you can see here, first off, the views are beautiful. That's where we're going up there. That peak straight ahead of us, not the far peak with the wall, but like, gosh, we're going right up this ridge here, which is very cool. We're kind of going to go down. And as I said, I am quite a fast hiker out here today on this trail. And did catch up to these people. And it's all good. Like I said, a lot of times you're kind of waiting, letting people go the other way. There are some decent opportunities to pass if you're one of the more confident hikers that, you don't always need the chains, but I would definitely caution being careful. There are 17, based on my research, approximately 17 confirmed deaths on this hike, and once you're here, it really makes sense. To the left, if I just go, 5, 6 feet over, it's like a huge, long way down. And the hike, the part we missed, if you're only watching this, I do have another video where it's at 2 times speed, but I kind of go through the entire Angel's Landing hike. So you can check that out if you're interested in the first section. But it's actually quite nice. It's almost paved or very improved, like durable surface, very easy to follow. You're just kind of climbing and climbing and climbing. If anything, this part's kind of nice because even though you do climb a lot, it's a lot slower. So, as I said, because you're kind of waiting for other people. So it can kind of be nice. It's not as like like it's certainly strenuous because you are taking big steps up, as we'll see. I mean, obviously we're kind of going downhill or flat right now. But it is strenuous. Like you can see right ahead of us, like we're gonna climb up steeply, but you know, you can go at a really like controlled pace. Not a big deal. So why do they call this Angel's Landing? Well, apparently a Methodist minister named Frederick Vining Fisher came to Zion Canyon and said that only an angel could land up there. So we can kind of see just at the top middle of our screen, I guess it's a little bit cut off right now, but only an angel could land up there is what Mr. Vining Fisher thought. So I guess you kind of, you know, think about that on your hike out there. And when would I recommend going here? For sure, I would recommend going in the spring or the fall. You know, that is going to be the most crowded time, and Zion National Park is one of the most popular national parks. And it's actually quite small. I mean, the whole park itself, it covers a pretty large area, but the parts that are somewhat easily accessible, like, you know, this area right here or the Zion Narrows, do get quite crowded. I really would go early. They talk about the parking lot, which is quite large, but the parking lot at the visitor center does fill up pretty early during peak season, so certainly be aware of that. And even though, you know, you might be seeing this, or you might think like desert because of all the rocks, and a lot of people might think, oh, desert is always hot all the time. The desert is certainly very cold. And you are at a bit of elevation too, so definitely be aware. It can be below freezing here. Like, gosh, winter is really, really cold, and there can definitely be snow here too. And as I said, this hike would be quite scary with snow. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do it, and I'm sure if you're experienced and bring traction devices like Catula micro spikes or yak tracks, that you might be able to get away with it, but I really wouldn't suggest it. I think spring and fall are the best. In the summer, it can get quite hot here. You know, this route is pretty exposed, so maybe you'd get lucky, and it would be a little bit windy, but you know, wind has its own kind of scariness associated with it. But all that is to say, spring and fall are certainly the best. So the word Zion National Park. Well, first off, it used to be called, it was a national monument, and it was made a monument in 1909. President William Howard Taft made it a monument, and it was called, and forgive my pronunciation on this one, but Mukuntuweap National Monument. But then they renamed it Zion, which is the Hebrew word for sanctuary or refuge. So that is the origin of Zion National Park. Pretty cool. And something really cool about this whole area of the Southwest really is that it was inhabited by the ancestral Puebloans. This group of people was formerly called the Anasazi, but I guess the proper modern name is Ancestral Puebloan. And they were here, or show signs anyway, as early as 1500 BC. So that's pretty crazy. People have been living here for that long, but who can blame them? Gosh, if I came across this, it might be hard to leave. There's the beautiful Virgin River down below. You got this cool peak to climb. I don't think there were any chains or anything back then to the top of Angel's Landing. So as you can see, I kind of debated whether I should make this 2x speed to kind of speed up these parts, or if I should just leave it to kind of show it. But I thought I would just leave it because I do want people to know like exactly what it is like, and you know, you do really get kind of stuck behind people, and you just want to be chill. And even if you're quite fit, you definitely want to give yourselves a whole bunch of time, because as I said, it's pretty cool to see everyone challenge themselves and people really push themselves to the limit on the Zion Angels Landing hike, which I think is really cool. The permit is a little bit hard to get. I think if you plan far in advance, it might not be bad. Like there's two different ways to get a permit. You can either book, I think it's like, several months in advance. Definitely go to recreation.gov for all this, because I don't know if it's still a pilot program or if they're still changing things around. But at the time I did it, you could either book it a few months in advance or try to get one the day before. And in this instance, I got one the day before, which was pretty cool. So here, I'm kind of looking and thinking, I could probably pass this pretty easily. There's a little bit of more room, and I could have gone to the left right there, but I didn't do it. It's all good. So we just keep chilling, and as you can see, you're really kind of walking on this knife edge, but it is pretty wide. I mean, it's probably at least like 6 to 8 feet wide. It's not like inches or anything. So I took my opportunity to kind of pass here, and kind of kept going. Gosh, it's so beautiful. I absolutely love it here. I don't know if I've said it enough, but I can't really emphasize it enough. I love Zion National Park. So as you can see, I'm kind of getting out of people's way. I step over the chain right here. Some people thought I was crazy, I think, on this hike. But again, everything is kind of what your experience level is. One of the craziest things, if you look, to the sides of the canyon, like there's all sorts of rock climbing routes that people go. So it's interesting, always the different levels, right? So on one hand, you have people pushing themselves to the limit, going up Angel's Landing, and then you have people who are climbing the huge 2,000-foot vertical walls of Zion Canyon, which is really cool. Or you have crazy people like me. One time I actually walked from Yellowstone to the Grand Canyon, and I connected 13 national parks along the way. So I connected every national park in Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, into Nevada, and then back into Utah to hit up Zion, and then to the Grand Canyon. That was a great experience. I did do it as a through hike, which was awesome, hence the Walk the Parks name of my channel. But I just love being outside. It's just beautiful to hike around. I love national parks. I mean, people are friendly, they'll say hello to you, you got beautiful sights. I just love it. So, alright, so here we go. We're kind of go up, and then you just kind of take the chains the whole way. There's kind of steps carved out for the most part. Man, look at that view. Absolutely gorgeous. So you can kind of see, and it's kind of like well worn. As you can, I mean, kind of think about right now, or the thing I'm thinking about is it might be scary on this part if it were rainy or if it was snowy at all. So definitely keep that in mind. So there's a bunch of different animal species here. One of them is the California condor, which is pretty cool. They're very endangered as far as I know. I know there's some in the Grand Canyon, I believe. But it's the largest flying bird in the I think it's actually North America, the largest flying bird. They can fly 55 miles an hour, and they might have a wingspan that exceeds like 9 to 10 feet, which is very cool. But I know the species were dwindling, then they recovered, and then just recently I think there was some sort of other disease that went around, so they kind of have lost some ground for a while. I don't know, when I'm in the desert too, for other animals, I always think of like mountain lions. I've only ever seen one mountain lion. It was in Colorado. It was actually 3 at once. It was like a mother and her 2 kittens, I guess. They're fairly mature kittens. Thankfully, they left me alone. I woke up and saw them. But I don't know, for some reason, this type of terrain in the desert always makes me think of mountain lions. Such a cool creature because they're so rarely seen, but they could be there. Like if you ever look up some studies about mountain lions, they have these huge ranges, and they kind of walk like 20 to 40 miles, and they'll walk 40 miles back, which is really cool. All right, so then climb and climb and climb. You can see the footing, certainly not smooth on this part. I was talking about how smooth the hike is up until Scouts Lookout. But now, certainly big, huge rocks, big steps. So certainly going to tire you out. It's like if that first kind of cardiovascular section of the hike didn't tire you out up to Scouts Lookout, this one might, because you kind of get the full leg workout, right? Not only the gradual hill, but now we're doing the big steps up. And as you can see with the permit system, there is still quite a lot of people on this hike. In order to get here, you basically park at the visitor center. You can't park at the trailhead for the vast majority of the year. You used to be able to some in winter. Kind of check the Zion page though to see parking regulations. Really what you do is park at the visitor center, and then you take a shuttle bus, and you can take a shuttle bus to the grotto. That's the name of the stop. So you get off at the grotto and then start hiking up Angel's Landing. There were rangers on this hike today, so definitely be sure that you have a permit so you don't get in any trouble there. I was talking about rock climbing. Another cool thing you can do in Zion National Park is go canyoneering. And canyoneering is kind of like rock climbing, but in a way the opposite. Like rather than going up a wall, you're kind of rappelling down a canyon. And Zion is famous for having just all sorts of different canyons you can rappel down. And then look here, so places get pretty steep. These guys are using the chains just as like a rope almost. I kind of try to avoid that a little bit. I mean, all of these posts are incredibly sturdy, or have been seeming incredibly sturdy every time I've been there. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't necessarily put all my pressure on the chains just because it's a little bit scary. Like, what if the chains were to pull out? But anyway, I don't mean to make everyone afraid and fear this hike more, thinking that the chains are very secure. But I try not to use them just as a straight up like rope. So as you can see here, you kind of have another traffic jam. I think I just kind of like walk around everybody here. But it's all good. Oh gosh, I'm crazy because it doesn't really, other people don't really like to get near the edge so much, but I'm not too afraid. But then, I'm trying to be patient too. I wasn't being a jerk and plowing through everybody. And it is always an interesting thing, Everybody kind of has their own pace on a hike. Sometimes people think like, oh, you're going too fast, stop and smell the roses. But everybody has a different skill level. I'm a fan of just letting people go their own pace, If somebody catches you from behind on a hike, just take a step to the side. Maybe you'll catch them again. Maybe they'll pass you and you'll never see them. It's all good. But if somebody does catch you, usually the best thing is to let them go. This hike is a little bit different though, because as I've said so many times, you are kind of waiting for the people ahead of you if there's someone more apprehensive, or you're just letting a group of people kind of go the opposite direction. So, all right, the scary part. And we keep going. And the thing is, though, the scary part on Zion is quite long. Like you can notice, we've been going almost 24 minutes into this video now, and these chains are still going. So that's pretty crazy. Something else you can do in the park is go backpacking. So backpacking, you kind of bring a tent and stuff like that, and there's these designated campsites out in the Zion wilderness. Absolutely fantastic experience. If you're feeling super adventurous and you want to go explore a backcountry site, I really enjoyed number 13. It's like 13 is so cool. There's like an arch like a couple miles from there that's really neat. And then it's just a cool experience. I won't spoil it too much, but there's this cool creek you have to cross a few times to get there. There are some kind of weird issues going on with the water at Zion. There's some sort of plant growing or algae growing in the water that is like super dangerous to drink and stuff like that. So I don't know what the exact precautions are still, but make sure to check that So as you can tell here, I mean, this guy's clinging to the rock for dear life here, and the other guy is too while they're waiting. Um, so it's interesting. So I decided to take a look down. Yeah, and the views are just spectacular. Like that's the view down. Um, the Virgin River there. Oh my gosh, absolutely beautiful. So also in this canyon, if you go the other way from what I just showed you and the way we're kind of looking now, if you go upriver, you hit the Zion Narrows. The Zion Narrows are probably, I don't know, what do you guys think? What's more popular, Zion Narrows or Angel's Landing? Both probably the most popular the most popular hikes in the park for sure. There's also the Subway, which is like this famous technical canyon you can go down. But if you are to go down, or excuse me, if you were to walk up the Zion Narrows, very cool experience. And I would highly recommend 2 poles. I saw a lot of people with 1 pole. And I think a lot of people that you can rent stuff. There's like this small town Springdale right outside the park where you can rent stuff for the Narrows, and they give people 1 pole. But that kind of surprised me. I really find that your 2 poles really helps because you're kind of really stumbling. You really want to have, or at least I found, I really wanted to have 2 poles because then you kind of have 4, your 2 legs and the 2 poles at the bottom of the stream, and I found that to be kind of very effective. All right, so here we go. Gosh, looking up canyon, looking across the canyon, absolutely beautiful. I think we were just looking at observation point there, which is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I just love Zion. So all right, let's just enjoy these last 5 minutes of the hike. We're getting close. As you can see, the climb is relentless. The chains literally don't stop until almost all the way at the top. So keep that in mind, especially if you're kind of uncertain and you go, a little bit past Scout's Lookout and you're just thinking this isn't for me. It goes on for a long time. That said, gosh, I'd encourage you to challenge yourself too. I mean, if you don't feel in danger, it's just such a beautiful experience, and it's kind of good, like, to test your limit a little bit. But again, it's always a tricky balance between testing your limit and staying safe. And then just one other thing I want to mention is just there's this whole leave no trace ethics in hiking that's really important. And the basics of it are leave only footprints, take only pictures, kill only time. So you can kind of keep those things in mind, and just really try to leave a place better than you found it, or try to leave as little impact as possible. There's no garbage whatsoever up here, so please pack out everything that you brought in. Don't be carving your name in the rock or anything silly like that. There's so many people that go on this hike. Let's all try to just kind of keep it for the next, next week or the next year or the next 1,000 years. So definitely a big proponent of leave no trace for sure. All right, so here we are. We're approaching the final little ridge walk. So, as you can see, there are definitely drop-offs to the right and the left. So good thing that there's chains here. I really wonder what this hike was like without chains. I didn't have a chance to look up when the chains were installed or anything like that, but what a crazy hike. The people who did this originally must have been very adventurous souls, even just figuring out how to get up here. But absolutely beautiful. So here we are, we're almost at the summit ridge. We're about 2.7 miles in. We've hiked up about 1,500 vertical feet, and that's maybe a little under 500 meters for metric, and then a little bit under 5 kilometers, maybe 4 kilometers up here. It is quite a steep hike, though. I mean, certainly don't underestimate it. And as I said, regardless of anything, even if you're super fit, super used to climbing, definitely give yourself more time than you think, just because of, there's a lot of people, and there's, as you can see, everybody kind of wants the chains. Nobody wants to just like go way on the edge and wait for you or anything like that. So here we go. I think that might be the final chain. Let's see if we'll test my theory here. and then you're kind of on. You know, some people think this is the end. It kind of seems like it might be, you know, because the chains stop and you're so used to using the chains. But you just keep going along this beautiful ridge crest. I love these trees here. Beautiful sun. I just love it here. Zion National Park is absolutely amazing. What do you guys think? You like Zion? Does this video make you want to go to Zion? I would love to hear any feedback that anyone has, if I can make this better. I feel like sometimes I say a lot, but I'm trying to get better at that. But is there other things you want to know about this hike? You know, and I know there's a lot of criticism of like people posting stuff about hikes, but my thought is I can make some videos about this for some of the more popular hikes that really aren't like, you know, Angel's Landing is no secret. But I know a lot of people, and I would think, based on the people I see on the trail, that hopefully this video will be helpful so you can really see the whole thing. It's just absolutely beautiful too. But just see the whole thing to get a better idea of like, is this somewhere I want to go? Or maybe if someone doesn't have the opportunity to go here, you can listen to me blabber on about it, or you could, you know, mute me out and just watch the hike in the background, you know? Gosh, look how beautiful. So definitely a bunch of people here up at the summit. I did mention rodents earlier. To get back to that point, be careful. A lot of times in this like Southwest, especially these popular national park areas, some of these rodents can be aggressive. They say that the squirrels and chipmunks are like the most dangerous animals in like all these parks because they'll bite people and give them diseases. They'll like tear into your pack. There's people trying to get like, oh, a cute little picture of the, you know, little rodent is eating from my hand, but it's like, oh man, the next person that's going to be eating through their backpack and then biting them. So keep that in mind. What a funny point to try to end the video on. But then you're up here and you just get these spectacular 360 views. My God. You know, look at that. Beautiful wall, 2,000 feet. You can see the Virgin River way at the bottom, 2,000 feet down. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at those towering walls over there. God, I love it. I can't recommend going here enough. Angel's Landing is absolutely spectacular, especially a beautiful day like this. Oh my God. What a beautiful world we live in. Have an awesome day, you guys. Watch another video or subscribe or like. Thank you so much.